imagine a city, right, with a GDP of over $116 billion. It's home to the world's tallest building, and it's completely synonymous with extreme, unapologetic wealth.
Yeah, like when you think of luxury, you immediately think of this place.
Exactly. And if you ask people on the street how the city got so rich, I mean, 99% of them will confidently give you just one word: oil.
Which, makes sense given it's in the Middle East. But here is the wild reality. Today, oil makes up less than 1% of Dubai's economy.
Less than 1%. So if the wealth isn't just bubbling up from the ground, where did it come from? How do you build a massive futuristic metropolis on a patch of empty sand?
I mean, you'd think it was just overnight magic, but it's really not.
No, not at all. It's this wild tale that involves a pearl diving economic apocalypse, massive gambling on shipping infrastructure, actual gold smuggling, and a city that decided to operate exactly like a tech startup.
And it's such a crazy story.
Welcome to the Missing Lessons, where we explain what school never did.
Because understanding Dubai, it isn't just about learning history.
Right.
It's honestly a masterclass in how wealth is actually built from absolutely nothing.
If you're enjoying the Missing Lessons, make sure to follow the podcast, leave a rating, and share it with someone who might find it interesting. It helps us create more episodes and reach more curious minds.
So where do we even start with this?
Well, we have to look at how desperately, painfully poor Dubai used to be. From around 1833 into the early 1900s, it was just a sandy, incredibly hot outpost.
Right, like no air conditioning, no skyscrapers, nothing like what we see today.
Exactly. Almost no agriculture either. The entire economy, literally the only thing keeping the settlement alive, was pearl diving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, men would spend months at sea in these wooden boats, diving deep into the Persian Gulf while holding their breath just to harvest natural pearls.
That sounds brutal. And they were just selling these to, wealthy Europeans.
Yep, selling them to European elites. It was a one-trick economy that was entirely dependent on luxury buyers thousands of miles away.
But what happens when the one thing keeping you alive suddenly becomes worthless?
Well, that's exactly what happened in the 1930s. The Great Depression wiped out the wealth of the Western elites, so the demand for luxury goods just vanished.
And didn't the Japanese invent something around that time, too?
They did. They invented a mechanism to create cultured pearls. By artificially inserting an irritant into an oyster, they could just mass-produce perfectly round pearls for a fraction of the cost.
So the natural pearl industry just crashed.
Decimated practically overnight. The people in Dubai were facing literal starvation, they had crippling poverty, and they were desperate.
Normally, wouldn't a government just close its borders and hoard resources in a crisis like that?
That's the default reaction, yeah. But Dubai's leadership did the exact opposite. They looked at the starvation and realized they had absolutely no physical product left to sell.
So what do you sell when you have nothing?
You sell your geography. They declared Dubai a free trade port and eliminated taxes on imports and exports. They just dropped them to zero.
Wait, they dropped taxes to zero when their own people were starving? That sounds insane.
It sounds like total madness on paper, but it was this highly calculated pivot. By dropping taxes to zero, they instantly attracted merchants from Iran and India.
Oh, because those merchants were probably tired of paying huge tariffs at their own ports.
Exactly. And that is how zero taxes actually feeds a population. The government wasn't making money on the trade itself, but those foreign merchants needed to rent houses, buy food, hire laborers.
Wow. So the indirect economy just boomed around them.
Right. They engineered an ecosystem where wealth flowed through the city and the locals captured the secondary benefits, but they still had this massive physical bottleneck.
The Dubai Creek, right?
Yeah, the natural waterway that split the town. It was silting up. The water was getting too shallow, so big ocean-going ships couldn't get in.
So they were stuck using tiny rowboats to move cargo to the docks, which is just super slow.
Slow and expensive. So in the late 1950s, the ruler, Sheikh Rashid, took this colossal financial gamble. He borrowed heavily to dredge the creek.
Taking on debt they definitely couldn't pay back if it failed.
Oh, absolutely. It was an all-or-nothing bet. They brought in massive equipment to dig out the silt so huge cargo ships could dock right in the center of the city.
So since they had no product of their own, they just became the ultimate middleman.
The ultimate middleman, and it paid off immediately. Ship traffic skyrocketed, which leads us to this fascinating period known as the Gold City era.
This is the part with the smuggling, isn't it?
It is. After World War II, India gained independence and put heavy tariffs on importing gold to control their currency. But, the cultural demand for gold in India was insatiable.
Right, for weddings and just passing down wealth.
Exactly. So there was this massive price gap. Millions of ounces of gold were legally flown into Dubai from Europe.
And then what? They just snuck it across the ocean?
Pretty much. Because Dubai had zero export taxes, merchants would buy the gold, load it onto incredibly fast boats, and essentially smuggle it across the Arabian Sea into India.
That is wild. I mean, India definitely considered that illegal.
India hated it, but under Dubai's laws, it was completely legal, free market re-exporting. It was a massive cash cow for them.
So they proved they could handle massive trade way before they ever found oil.
Right. So when they finally did discover oil in 1966, it didn't create their economy. It just acted like an accelerant. It was pouring fuel on a fire they had already built.
But if they had oil, why didn't they just sit back and get rich like everyone else in the region? Just, hand out cash to citizens.
Well, the catch was that Dubai's oil reserves were actually tiny compared to their neighbors. Abu Dhabi holds about 90% of the UAE's oil.
Oh, wow. I had no idea the split was that drastic.
Yeah, it's huge. Dubai's leaders knew their oil was going to run out fast. So instead of living off it like a permanent lottery win, they treated it like venture capital for a startup.
That is such a smart way to frame it. Seed funding for a whole country.
Exactly. They poured that temporary surge of cash straight into hard infrastructure. They built Port Rashid in 1972 and then Jebel Ali Port in 1979.
And Jebel Ali is like the largest man-made harbor on the planet. Right?
Yeah, it is. They dug it directly out of the desert sand. They aggressively expanded the airport too. But, you can build the biggest port in the world and it still doesn't guarantee foreign businesses will come.
Right, because multinational corporations are terrified of operating in unfamiliar legal or tax systems in the Middle East.
Exactly. You have to actively engineer away their risk. And that leads to the 1985 invention of the Jebel Ali Free Zone, JAFZA.
So what made this free zone so irresistible to these huge companies?
They offered 100% foreign ownership. Before that, you usually had to surrender a majority stake to a local partner. Plus, they offered 0% corporate tax and no currency restrictions.
So you could make a massive profit and literally transfer it all back to New York on the same day.
Exactly. Geographically, these companies were in the desert, but economically, they were operating in a frictionless vacuum designed just for them.
And they basically copy-pasted this model everywhere, didn't they? Internet city, media city.
Over 30 specialized zones. But the masterpiece was the Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC. They wanted the biggest investment banks in the world.
But Western banks aren't going to move billions of dollars if they don't trust the local courts.
Right. So Dubai utilized this ultimate form of regulatory alignment. The DIFC operates under its own independent legal system based entirely on English common law.
Wait, they literally just imported the exact legal framework that London and Wall Street use?
Yep. Precedents, framework, even the judges. They instantly erased the legal friction. But they still needed to get the world's attention.
Which is where those insane mega projects come in, right?
Exactly. They use mega projects as marketing. Take the Burj Al Arab, that massive sail-shaped hotel. They promoted it as a 7-star hotel.
Which isn't even a real rating, by the way.
Not at all. It's completely made up. But the global press ate it up. Then they built the Palm Jumeirah, those artificial islands shaped like a palm tree that you can see from space.
I mean, it's brilliant. These aren't just buildings. They're billion-dollar billboards telling the global elite that the impossible happens here.
Exactly. But hypergrowth and artificial islands funded by debt always create a bubble.
Yeah, let's push back on this a bit, because rapid growth like that relies heavily on cheap migrant labor working in some pretty grueling conditions. And the loose financial laws definitely made it a haven for money laundering.
We have to acknowledge that objectively. It's the shadow behind the glitter. And economically, by 2008, everyone was borrowing massive amounts of money to build faster.
And when the 2008 global financial crisis hit, all that easy credit just vanished.
Right. It evaporated overnight. Property values plummeted. Half-finished skyscrapers were abandoned. Expats who took out massive loans lost their jobs.
Didn't people literally just abandon their luxury cars at the airport and flee the country?
Yes, because debt default carried severe legal penalties. So Dubai was on the brink of total financial collapse. They ultimately had to be bailed out by Abu Dhabi.
Which is why they renamed the tallest building to the Burj Khalifa, right? After Abu Dhabi's ruler.
Exactly. He signed the bailout check. But what emerged from that crash was Dubai positioning itself as a geopolitical safe haven.
Right, like an emergency exit for global wealth whenever things go wrong.
Yeah. During the Arab Spring in 2011, wealthy families needed a hyper-stable vault for their capital. They moved it to Dubai. During COVID, Dubai kept business moving. Even with Russian oligarchs dodging sanctions recently, whenever the world is in crisis, money flees to the safety and secrecy of Dubai.
So how does all of this affect the everyday workers and students living there today? Because it used to just be a place you went to work and then left.
Right. For decades, Dubai was essentially a transient economy. You worked tax-free, and the second you lost your job, your visa expired and you had to leave.
Only like 10% of the population is actually native Emirati.
Exactly. But having a transient population is an economic vulnerability. The pandemic forced them to introduce golden visas.
Oh, this is where they give 10-year residencies to doctors, coders, entrepreneurs, and digital nomads, right?
Yes. They are trying to shift from being a temporary luxury hotel to a permanent home where global talent anchors their wealth in the local economy.
And if you look at the big picture, they're heavily leveraging their geography for all this. Like Emirates Airline. It's basically a flying billboard.
A flying billboard that monetizes their location on the map. Two-thirds of the world's population lives within an 8-hour flight of Dubai.
That's a crazy statistic.
It is. They use that to become the ultimate planetary crossroads for logistics, for over 17 million tourists a year, and for finance.
So they essentially built the perfect middleman economy.
Yes. And honestly, this agility isn't just a strategy for city-states. It provides a blueprint for how you can build your own wealth and success.
Okay, so how do we apply a city's economic strategy to our own lives?
Well, there's a highly practical startup mindset here. First, treat your main income like oil.
Meaning, you know it's not going to last forever?
Exactly. Don't just live off your paycheck. Use it as seed funding to build your own infrastructure, like new skills or side hustles, before your personal oil runs out.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's the second piece of advice?
Pivot quickly. When the pearling industry died, Dubai didn't sit around complaining. They dredged a creek. When your industry shifts, how fast can you adapt?
Right, clinging to a dying model is how you fail. And the third one is about the free zones, isn't it?
Yeah. Make yourself a free zone. Dubai removed all the friction for businesses. In your career, be the person who removes friction. Make it so easy and beneficial for people to work with you that they literally can't ignore you.
That is incredibly practical, which actually brings up a fun question for everyone listening.
Let's hear it.
Here's a question for you. If you were tasked with building a brand new city from scratch today, what is the one crazy rule, monument, or project you would create to attract people? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
I would love to read those comments. So, to summarize everything we've talked about today, Dubai didn't get rich by accident, and they didn't just sit on natural resources.
No, they got rich through sheer desperation, these massive calculated gambles, extreme diversification, and by acting like a ruthless, agile startup.
Exactly. And the philosophy driving all this is captured perfectly in a famous quote from Sheikh Rashid.
Oh, the camel quote, right?
Yes, he said, "My grandfather rode a camel, my father rode a camel, I drive a Mercedes, my son drives a Land Rover, but my great-grandson will ride a camel again unless we diversify."
Wow. It's a really chilling reminder that nothing lasts forever without adaptation.
The desert doesn't forgive complacency. And honestly, neither does the modern economy.
So true.
If you enjoyed this episode of The Missing Lessons, don't forget to follow the podcast, leave a rating, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us continue exploring the topics school never taught us.